These men did not have radio, television, cars, trains, airplanes, internet. These men were being called to take this good news of Christ to every people group on the face of the earth. Wouldn't you have some doubts? I believe they were doubting themselves, that this was just too overwhelming to consider. And I believe that because if we look at verse 18, it reassures us that. Look at verse 18. And Jesus came up and spoke to them, saying, all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. In other words, Jesus could see how overwhelmed they were with the mission he was going to be giving them. And so he comes to them and he reassures them and he says, all authority has been given to me. In other words, all the power you need to fulfill this mission has been given to me. You stay close to me. That's really what Jesus is saying. And he is reassuring them of the mission that he reiterates and states again to them beginning in verse 19. Look at verse 19. He says, go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I commanded you. In verse 19, Jesus says to go. The command is to go. But it's also interesting. The New Testament is written in Greek, and if you study the original language of the New Testament, you see that the word for go also means as you are going. As you go to work in Vienna. As you go to school in Vienna. As you go to play sports in Vienna. As you go out to eat with your family here in Vienna. As you are going, we are commanded to make disciples. So there's the imperative, the command to go. But there's also the deeper understanding as you are going. As you go about your everyday life. And what is the command? The command is that we make disciples of all the nations. Now, let's talk about what is a disciple. A disciple is someone biblically that is chosen by a rabbi, where they learn from the rabbi, both in his actions, but also in his teaching. Think about it this way. Have any of you had any interest in what's going on around the world now about the World Cup? Anybody have any interest? No interest. Okay. Well, some of you do. Okay. Well, the World Cup is a pretty big deal. So think about this. There have been tremendously gifted coaches or managers in European soccer. Now, in America, we call it soccer. I know it's really football. And it's really more apt to describe it as football because they only use their feet rather than their hands. American football really has kind of stolen that name. But anyway, there have been some great coaches. Johan Cruyff, is that what I'm saying? A Dutchman. He was an incredible player and became an incredible coach.